Embarking on a journey through the ages, we explore the biography of God, a narrative that transcends time, culture, and religion. This exploration is not about the divine essence itself, but rather the evolution of God's representation in human history. In ancient times, polytheism dominated, with civilizations like the Egyptians and Greeks worshipping a pantheon of deities. These gods personified natural forces, embodying the mysteries and powers of the world around them. With time, a shift occurred. In the heart of the Middle East, a revolutionary idea emerged, the concept of monotheism. This notion was most prominently expressed in the Hebrew Bible. Yahweh, a singular God, became the foundation of Judaism. His narrative conveyed a deeply personal and covenantal relationship with humanity. Moving forward, the rise of Christianity expanded this biography. Jesus of Nazareth, a Jewish carpenter's teachings and followers, presented a new understanding of God, a divine trinity comprising the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, rooted in love, sacrifice, and redemption. As centuries passed, Islam further reshaped the understanding of God. In the 7th century, the Prophet Muhammad presented Allah, emphasizing unity, mercy, and submission as captured in the Quran. The biography of God in Islam harmonizes divine revelation with strict monotheism, impacting countless believers across the globe. Throughout history, philosophical and theological discussions continued to evolve God's biography. From medieval scholastics to modern thinkers, God has been the subject of intellectual inquiry, inspiring countless interpretations and arguments regarding his existence, nature, and attributes. In contemporary times, the biography of God reflects a tapestry of beliefs. Various faiths, including Hinduism and Buddhism, offer diverse perspectives, presenting an inclusive, universal spirituality. Yet, one common thread endures: the human pursuit of understanding, connection, and awe before the divine. This biography is not static, but rather an ever-evolving story, shaped by countless individuals and cultures seeking to comprehend the infinite. In the small town of Bethlehem, over 2,000 years ago, a child was born who would change the course of history. This child, named Jesus, grew up in Nazareth, a region of Galilee, known today as part of modern-day Israel. Born to Mary, a young woman, and Joseph, a carpenter, Jesus' birth was humble, yet surrounded by wondrous events, including a star that guided wise men from the east and angelic proclamations of peace. Jesus grew in wisdom and stature, learning the trade of carpentry from Joseph, but displaying a profound understanding of spiritual matters from a young age. At about 30, Jesus was baptized by John the Baptist in the River Jordan. This moment marked the beginning of his public ministry. Following his baptism, Jesus spent 40 days fasting in the wilderness, where he resisted temptations, an ordeal that further solidified his purpose and strength. Jesus' teachings were radical for the time, emphasizing love, forgiveness, and the profound value of every individual. He spoke of a kingdom of God, not bound by physical constraints, but alive in the hearts and minds of those willing to listen. His words spread quickly, attracting diverse followers, including fishermen, tax collectors, and zealots. He performed miraculous healings, turned water into wine, and even raised the dead, acts that drew people to him, but also stirred anxiety among religious leaders and Roman authorities. Jesus' message challenged the status quo, emphasizing compassion over ritual and the spirit of the law over its letter. His parables and sermons, such as the Sermon on the Mount, conveyed deep spiritual truths through simple, relatable stories. But it was his claim to divine sonship that sparked controversy and eventually led to his arrest. Betrayed by one of his disciples, Jesus was tried and sentenced to death by crucifixion. Yet, his story did not end in death. 3 days later, his followers found his tomb empty, and soon many claimed to have seen him alive. This event, known as the resurrection, became the cornerstone of Christian faith, symbolizing victory over sin and death. Through this incredible narrative, Jesus of Nazareth continues to inspire billions worldwide. His life and teachings remain central to Christianity, and his message of love and redemption endures, transcending time and culture. Sir Isaac Newton, a name synonymous with genius, was one of history's most revered scientists. A key figure in the scientific revolution, his discoveries fundamentally changed our understanding of the universe. Born on Christmas Day, 1642, under the Julian calendar, or January 4th, 1643, by the modern Gregorian calendar, in Woolsthorpe, England, Newton's early life was fraught with challenges. Orphaned as an infant, he was raised by his grandmother after his mother remarried. He attended the King's School in Grantham, displaying an early aptitude for mechanics and mathematics, which led him to Trinity College, Cambridge, in 1661. In the mid-1660s, during the Great Plague, Cambridge closed and Newton returned home. This period, which he later called the prime of my age for invention, was a transformative one. It was here that he laid the groundwork for his theory of universal gravitation, his laws of motion, and his development of calculus, which he termed the method of fluxions. Upon returning to Cambridge, Newton's academic prowess grew. He became a Fellow of Trinity College, and in 1669 was appointed Lucasian Professor of Mathematics. His lectures, though sparsely attended, laid the foundation for his monumental work. In 1687, Newton published the groundbreaking Philosophia Naturalis Principia Mathematica, or the Principia. This monumental work introduced his three laws of motion, forming the foundation of classical mechanics, and articulated the law of universal gravitation. It revolutionized scientific thought and explained why planets orbit the sun in the way they do, linking celestial mechanics with earthly physics. Newton's interests weren't limited to physics and mathematics. He delved deeply into alchemy and biblical chronology, believing these pursuits were intertwined with his understanding of a universe created by God. In 1696, Newton moved to London to become Warden of the Royal Mint. He was later promoted to Master, where he used his scientific mind to reform the English currency system, pursuing and prosecuting counterfeiters with remarkable zeal. His later years were marked by recognition and prestige, including his knighthood by Queen Anne in 1705. Sir Isaac Newton passed away on March 31st, leaving an indelible mark on science and human understanding. His genius lay not only in his discoveries, but in his profound ability to see the universe through the lens of mathematics, unlocking mysteries that continue to influence our world today. Today, we're diving into the inspiring life of one of America's founding fathers, Benjamin Franklin. Born on January 17, 1706 in Boston, Massachusetts, Franklin was the 15th of 17 children. From a young age, he had a voracious appetite for knowledge, which led him to leave school at 10 to work in his father's candle shop. However, it was the printing business, where he joined his brother James as an apprentice, that captured his imagination and allowed him to hone his writing skills. By age 17, Franklin was publishing his own articles anonymously, and even went on to establish the Pennsylvania Gazette, becoming one of the most successful newspaper publishers of his time. In 1731, he founded the Library Company of Philadelphia, America's first subscription library, underlining his belief in the power of accessible knowledge. Franklin's keen intellect and curiosity were not limited to literature. Known for his scientific endeavors, he conducted famous experiments with electricity, inventing the lightning rod, bifocals, and the Franklin stove. His curiosity sparked innovations that have had a lasting impact on science and daily life. Franklin was also a pivotal political figure. As a diplomat, he played a critical role in the American Revolution, securing French support and helping draft the Declaration of Independence. Later, during the Constitutional Convention of 1787, he was instrumental in shaping the U.S. Constitution. His contributions extended to civic affairs. He founded institutions like the University of Pennsylvania and helped organize the first volunteer fire department, embodying his commitment to public service and community improvement. Beyond his tangible achievements, Franklin's wisdom endures through his autobiographical works, which offer timeless insights on self-improvement. His life is a testament to the power of curiosity, perseverance, and public service, leaving an indelible mark on history. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more intriguing stories of remarkable lives. President George Washington, born on February 22, 1732, in Westmoreland County, Virginia, was a pivotal figure in American history. As the first president of the United States, serving from 1789 to 1797, his leadership set many precedents for the future presidency, actively shaping the nation's path. President George Washington was born into a family of planters, and his upbringing was filled with lessons of responsibility and leadership on their Virginia plantation. Despite receiving limited formal education, President George Washington's early career as a surveyor gave him valuable insight into the colony's lands. During the French and Indian War, he gained significant military experience, which later became vital during the American Revolutionary War. As Commander-in-Chief of the Continental Army, President George Washington led the colonies to victory against the British. His perseverance at Valley Forge and his strategic acumen at battles like Yorktown demonstrated his dedication and skill. After the war, President George Washington's reputation for integrity led to his unanimous election as the first president. He faced the immense challenge of unifying a budding nation. President George Washington established key aspects of government, such as forming the first cabinet and ensuring a peaceful transfer of power, which became traditions for his successors. His leadership style cemented the presidency's authority while maintaining a balance with the legislative and judicial branches. President George Washington emphasized neutrality in foreign affairs, warning against entangling alliances, which influenced American foreign policy well into the future. Declining a third term, he voluntarily stepped down in 1797, setting a precedent for a two-term limit, which became law in the 22nd Amendment. President George Washington returned to his beloved Mount Vernon estate in Virginia, where he passed away on December 14, 1799. As a symbol of humility and dedication, President George Washington remains a celebrated figure, leaving a legacy that shaped the United States' identity and governance. His vision of national unity, civic pride, and respect for the Constitution continues to guide American values. James Earl, Jimmy Carter Jr., born on October 1, 1924, in Plains, Georgia, grew up on a peanut farm where he learned the values of hard work. After graduating from the U.S. Naval Academy, he served in the Navy before returning to Georgia to manage the family farm following his father's death. Jimmy Carter's political career began in 1962 when he was elected to the Georgia State Senate. His commitment to reform led him to become Georgia's governor in 1970, where he focused on improving government efficiency and advancing civil rights. In 1976, running as an outsider, Jimmy Carter's message of honesty resonated with voters, and he won the presidency, defeating Gerald Ford. As the 39th president, he prioritized human rights, which guided his foreign policy. He successfully negotiated the Panama Canal Treaties and, most notably, the Camp David Accords, which led to a peace treaty between Israel and Egypt. Domestically, President Carter faced significant challenges, including the energy crisis and rising inflation. The Iran hostage crisis later overshadowed his presidency and contributed to his loss to Ronald Reagan in the 1980 election. After leaving office, President Jimmy Carter dedicated his life to humanitarian work. He founded the Carter Center to champion global health, democracy, and human rights. His post-presidency efforts earned him the Nobel Peace Prize in 2002. President Jimmy Carter passed away on December 29, 2024, at the age of 100, becoming the longest-lived U.S. president. He was laid to rest in his hometown of Plains, Georgia, following a state funeral. His death prompted national mourning, and he was remembered for his humanitarian work and a lifelong commitment to peace and public service. His legacy shows that leadership extends far beyond political office. Born in a small village near Vinci, Italy, on April 15, 1452, Leonardo di Ser Piero da Vinci was a figure who transcended his time. He wasn't just a painter, he was the ultimate Renaissance man, a polymath whose insatiable curiosity led him to master art, science, engineering, and anatomy. This is the story of a man who saw the world not as it was, but as it could be. Da Vinci was an illegitimate child, which, surprisingly, freed him from the traditional academic path. Instead of a formal education, he received an apprenticeship at age 14 in Florence, under the master Andrea del Verrocchio. It was there that he not only learned painting and sculpture, but also delved into metallurgy, chemistry, and mechanics. This interdisciplinary training would define his life's work. While his notebooks are filled with groundbreaking ideas, his artistic masterpieces are what secured his fame. His painting The Last Supper, a fresco in Milan, became an iconic depiction of that biblical moment, celebrated for its dramatic composition and emotional depth. However, because Da Vinci experimented with oil and tempera paint on a dry plaster wall instead of traditional fresco, the painting began to deteriorate quickly. It has since undergone multiple, extensive conservation efforts. And then there's the Mona Lisa. The mysterious smile and the use of sfumato, a technique of subtle blending of colors, have made it the most famous painting in the world, with new insights still emerging through modern analysis. But his genius extended far beyond the canvas. Da Vinci was a prolific inventor and a dedicated scientist. He filled thousands of pages in his famous notebooks with detailed drawings and reversed script notes. These pages contain designs for inventions centuries ahead of their time: a helicopter, a parachute, and a rudimentary armored tank. He was obsessed with the human body, conducting dissections to produce remarkably accurate anatomical drawings that are still studied today. He also theorized about plate tectonics and heliocentrism, a full century before Galileo. Da Vinci's legacy is so vast that new discoveries about his work are still being made. His ideas continue to inspire. His interdisciplinary approach to problem solving, his belief in observing the natural world, and his unyielding curiosity are what make him a timeless figure. He died on May 2nd, 1519, at the age of 67, at the Château du Clos Lucé in Amboise, France, where he had been living under the patronage of King Francis III. Da Vinci's legacy endures, inspiring generations to dream, explore, and innovate. Born as Norma Jean Mortensen on June 1st, 1926, in Los Angeles, California, Marilyn Monroe became an emblematic figure of glamour and beauty. Her early life was a struggle. Marilyn faced a tumultuous childhood, shuttling between foster homes and orphanages. Despite these challenges, she was determined to rise above her circumstances. At the age of 16, Marilyn married James Dougherty, primarily to avoid returning to an orphanage. However, her life took a transformative turn when she was discovered by a photographer while working at a munitions factory during World War II. This chance encounter launched her modeling career and led her to Hollywood. In the late 1940s, Marilyn adopted her famous screen name and began landing small roles. Her breakthrough came with the 1950 film The Asphalt Jungle, where her stunning performance caught the attention of audiences and critics alike. However, it was her roles in films like Gentlemen Prefer Blondes, Some Like It Hot, and The 7-Year Itch that solidified her status as a cinematic icon. Beyond her on-screen roles, Marilyn was noted for her comedic timing and radiant presence, which made her one of the most beloved figures in Hollywood. Despite her public persona, Monroe's personal life was riddled with difficulties. Her marriages to baseball legend Joe DiMaggio and playwright Arthur Miller, though filled with moments of love and happiness, eventually ended in divorce. Struggles with self-esteem, as well as substance abuse, haunted her for much of her life. Marilyn continually sought to be recognized as a serious actress, studying with the prestigious Actors Studio in New York City to hone her craft. Tragically, Marilyn's life was cut short on August 5, 1962, in an apparent overdose at the age of 36. Her untimely death cemented her status as a mythic figure in American culture. Today, Marilyn Monroe remains a symbol of beauty, vulnerability, and ambition. A radiant star whose legacy endures through her films, photographs, and the unquenchable curiosity surrounding her life. Her impact on the entertainment industry is indelible, as she paved the way for future generations of actresses who share her aspirations and allure. Martin Luther King Jr., a pivotal figure in American history, was born on January 15, 1929, in Atlanta, Georgia. Son of a Baptist minister, King's early life was steeped in the teachings of Christianity. Brilliant and dedicated, he entered Morehouse College at just 15, later pursuing theological studies and earning his doctorate in systematic theology from Boston University. King's life changed course in 1955 with the Montgomery bus boycott, spurred by Rosa Parks' arrest. As president of the Montgomery Improvement Association, he led the movement that ultimately ended bus segregation, showcasing his commitment to nonviolent protest. In 1957, King co-founded the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, reinforcing his advocacy for civil rights through peaceful means. This commitment drew inspiration from Mahatma Gandhi, whose philosophy King deeply admired. The years 1950s and 60s marked a fervent period of struggle, as King spearheaded numerous campaigns and marches advocating for racial equality and justice. In August 1963, during the historic March on Washington, King delivered his iconic "I Have a Dream" speech. His stirring words echoed across the nation, emphasizing his vision of a society free from racial prejudice. This speech remains a cornerstone in the fight for civil rights. In 1964, King's relentless efforts were globally acknowledged when he became the youngest recipient of the Nobel Peace Prize. However, his dream of equality faced intense opposition. Despite threats and violence, King remained steadfast, broadening his focus beyond racism to include poverty and the Vietnam War. King's life was tragically cut short on April 4, 1968 in Memphis, when he was assassinated while supporting striking sanitation workers. His passing was a profound loss, but his legacy endures. King's work laid the foundation for the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and the Voting Rights Act of 1965, which transformed American society. Today, Martin Luther King Jr. is celebrated annually on the third Monday of January, serving as a reminder of the enduring fight for equality and justice. His dream of a fair and just world continues to inspire generations worldwide, urging us to strive for the dignity and equal rights of all humankind. Pablo Picasso, an iconic figure in the world of art, a pioneer, an innovator, and a genius whose work continues to inspire millions worldwide. Journey with us as we explore the life of one of the most influential artists of the 20th century. Born in Malaga, Spain, on October 25, 1881, Pablo Diego José Francisco de Paula Juan Nepomuceno Crispín Crispiniano María de los Remedios de la Santísima Trinidad Ruiz y Picasso, simply known as Pablo Picasso, was destined for greatness. From a young age, Picasso showed exceptional talent, influenced by his father, José Ruiz y Blasco, an art instructor. At just 13, Picasso was admitted to the Barcelona School of Fine Arts, where his extraordinary skills quickly became apparent. In 1900, Picasso moved to Paris, the heart of the art world, marking the beginning of his transformative journey. His early works were characterized by the Blue Period, a time of melancholic tones influenced by his personal hardships, including the suicide of his friend Carles Casagemas. These paintings depict somber scenes, reflecting the emotions of an artist grappling with the realities of life. By 1904, Picasso's world transformed with the Rose Period, where warm, cheerful colors dominated his work. However, it was Cubism, developed alongside fellow artist Georges Braque, that redefined art forever. Through deconstructed forms and abstract shapes, Picasso challenged traditional perspectives, paving the way for modern art. Their early phase of Cubism, known as analytical Cubism, was characterized by muted tones and fractured forms. Later, synthetic Cubism introduced brighter colors and collage. Picasso's creativity knew no bounds. Over his prolific career, he's estimated to have produced an astonishing 50,000 artworks, spanning paintings, sculptures, ceramics, and prints. One of his most powerful works, Guernica, created in 1937, is a monumental anti-war painting that still resonates today as a symbol of the horrors of conflict. His contributions didn't go unnoticed, as he became a cultural icon whose influence transcended art. He continued to create until his last breath on April 8, 1973, in Mougins, France, at the age of 91. Pablo Picasso's legacy endures, compelling generations to view art through a boundless lens. His relentless pursuit of innovation serves as a testament to the power of creativity, ensuring that his visionary impact remains vivid, vibrant, and undeniably alive in the heart of the art world. Richard Feynman, a pivotal figure in 20th century physics, a maverick and a brilliant communicator. Born on May 11, 1918 in Queens, New York, his inquisitive nature was evident from a young age, as he dismantled radios to uncover their workings. This curiosity laid the foundation for his illustrious career. After graduating from MIT, Feynman pursued his PhD at Princeton, where his talent quickly became unmistakable. His doctoral advisor, John Archibald Wheeler, guided him in developing the theory of quantum electrodynamics, or QED. This groundbreaking work, which describes the interaction of light and matter, would eventually win Feynman the Nobel Prize in Physics in 1965, shared with Julian Schwinger and Shinichiro Tominaga. During World War II, Feynman's exceptional skills were harnessed at the Los Alamos Laboratory for the Manhattan Project. As a junior physicist in the theoretical division, he worked on calculations for the atomic bomb. Despite the gravity of his work, Feynman's humor and zest for life stood out as he famously cracked safes and exposed flaws in the lab's security. After the war, Feynman joined the faculty at Cornell University and later moved to Caltech. It was there that his charismatic lectures earned him legendary status. The lectures he delivered were compiled into the 3-volume The Feynman Lectures on Physics, a cherished resource that remains a staple for students worldwide. Beyond academics, his enigmatic personality shone through his love for playing the bongos and his passion for deciphering Mayan glyphs. In 1986, Feynman's expertise was called upon to investigate the Challenger space shuttle disaster. His incisive and simple demonstration, using a piece of the faulty O-ring material submerged in ice water, highlighted the cause of the disaster, the seal's failure in cold temperatures. This moment, televised to the nation, showcased his unique ability to unravel complex issues with straightforward logic. Richard Feynman's life was tragically cut short when he succumbed to cancer on February 15, 1988. Yet, his indelible mark on science endures through his groundbreaking theories, the iconic Feynman diagrams used by physicists every day, and the vibrant legacy he left behind, an inspiration for generations to peer into the universe's mysteries with curiosity and imagination. J. Robert Oppenheimer, the father of the atomic bomb, was one of the most consequential figures of the 20th century. Born on April 22, 1904 in New York City, he grew up in a stimulating environment that fueled his intellectual curiosity. His academic path led him to Harvard and eventually to the University of Göttingen in Germany, where he completed his PhD under the mentorship of Max Born. Throughout the late 1920s and 1930s, Oppenheimer made significant contributions to quantum theory, earning a reputation as a leading theoretical physicist. His brilliance caught the attention of the US government as the nation entered World War II. In 1942, Oppenheimer was appointed the scientific director of the Manhattan Project. Under his leadership, the world's most brilliant scientific minds converged in a secret laboratory in Los Alamos, New Mexico. By July 16, 1945, they had successfully tested the first atomic bomb, an event known as the Trinity Test, which would change the course of history forever. The success of the Manhattan Project, however, was met with deep ethical and moral complexities. The bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki in August 1945 resulted in an immense loss of life and led Oppenheimer to reflect deeply on his work. Following the war, he became a key advisor on atomic policy, advocating for international control of nuclear weapons. However, during the Red Scare of the 1950s, his past associations were scrutinized, culminating in a highly publicized security clearance hearing in 1954. This controversial process led to the revocation of his security clearance and his marginalization from government science. In 2022, the U.S. Department of Energy officially vacated the 1954 decision, finally affirming that the proceedings were biased and unfair. Oppenheimer's legacy in advancing scientific knowledge remains formidable. He spent his later years as a professor and remains a symbol of the profound ethical questions that accompany scientific advancements. Oppenheimer passed away on February 18, 1967, leaving behind a complex legacy intertwined with the history of modern science and global politics. His life continues to prompt examination of the responsibilities entwined with scientific discovery. Ronald Reagan, the 40th President of the United States, was born on February 6, 1911, in Tampico, Illinois. Raised in Dixon, Illinois, Reagan developed a passion for storytelling and public speaking. He attended Eureka College, where he studied economics and sociology and was active in drama and sports. After graduating in 1932, Reagan worked as a radio sports announcer, recreating Chicago Cubs baseball games from a studio. His distinct voice soon carried him to Hollywood, where he became a popular film actor during the 1940s and 50s. His journey into politics began as the president of the Screen Actors Guild, where he confronted issues like communism within Hollywood. Originally a Democrat, Reagan's views shifted towards conservatism, and he officially joined the Republican Party in 1962. His charismatic communication style and advocacy for smaller government led to his election as governor of California in 1966, where he served 2 terms. In 1980, Reagan won the presidency in a landslide victory against incumbent Jimmy Carter. As president, Reagan implemented economic policies known as Reaganomics, which included tax reductions, deregulation, and a tightening of the money supply to combat inflation. While controversial, these policies are credited with contributing to a period of record economic growth. Reagan's foreign policy was grounded in a strong anti-communist stance. He famously urged Soviet leader Mikhail Gorbachev in 1987 to tear down this wall, referring to the Berlin Wall. His administration saw a significant military buildup and the signing of the Intermediate Range Nuclear Forces Treaty. However, his presidency was also blemished by the Iran-Contra affair, a secret and illegal operation to sell arms to Iran and divert the profits to anti-communist rebels in Nicaragua. Reagan left office in 1989, remembered for restoring American morale and playing a key role in the end of the Cold War. Diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease in 1994, he spent his final years away from public life and passed away on June 5, 2004, at the age of 93. Ronald Reagan's legacy endures as one of the most influential leaders of the 20th century, whose impact on American politics and the global stage remains a subject of continued historical debate and analysis.